At first, it doesn't feel like you're wasting your life. You're answering emails, meeting deadlines, keeping up with messages, maintaining your image, doing the things people expect from you. You're productive, you're connected, you're functional. And that's what makes it dangerous. Because the greatest threat to a meaningful life isn't failure. It's distraction dressed as purpose. It's comfort disguised as progress. You tell yourself you're just getting through the day, that tomorrow you'll start doing the things that really matter. Tomorrow you'll speak your mind. Tomorrow you'll stop settling. Tomorrow you'll slow down enough to notice whether your time is being spent deliberately or simply being drained without protest. But tomorrow always feels infinite, until one day it doesn't. And by the time most people realize they've been living on autopilot, they've already traded the most irreplaceable resource they had, time, for things they can no longer even justify. The truth is, life rarely announces its wasting in dramatic moments. More often, it disappears subtly, inside routines that never get questioned, inside careers that were chosen out of fear instead of alignment, inside relationships kept alive by familiarity rather than love. No one plans to waste their life. It happens in the absence of intention. A few years ago, I met a man in his late 60s during a train ride. He wore a quiet sadness behind his words, not the kind born of tragedy, but the kind born of accumulated indifference. As the train cut through small towns, he told me about the life he'd built: steady job, respectable retirement, 2 kids he barely knew. He hadn't failed, he said. He just never paused long enough to ask if he was succeeding at something he actually valued. He didn't ruin my life, he said. He just postponed living it for too long. And that sentence hasn't left me since, because it revealed the quiet truth behind most of our regrets. We didn't choose the wrong things. We just didn't choose anything at all. We inherited goals, adopted timelines, played roles, but we never stopped to ask the one question that matters. Am I spending my time in a way that honors its worth? You see, when people say life is precious, they're not just offering a cliche. They're pointing to a brutal and beautiful reality, that every second we get is wildly undeserved, utterly finite, and completely unrecoverable. And yet we behave as if the opposite is true. We act like time is this limitless backdrop against which we can stall, delay, hesitate, repeat. But it's not. You get one brief shot at making your time here matter. One. And the enemy isn't always obvious. It's not always tragedy. It's not always crisis. Sometimes the enemy is the quiet comfort of habit, the seduction of the familiar, the subtle erosion of your standards as you slowly forget that every day spent without intention is a day subtracted from the life you could have lived. This is not about urgency for urgency's sake. It's about learning to see life as something sacred. And that begins not with doing more, but with noticing more, becoming painfully aware of where your time is going, who it's going to, and what that time is turning you into. If you ask most people what it means to waste their life, you'll hear the same answers repeated like gospel: doing nothing, playing it safe, never trying, staying broke, dying with regret. But the truth is far less dramatic and far more common. A wasted life doesn't always look like failure. Often it looks like success in the wrong directions. It looks like a polished resume filled with empty accomplishments, a beautiful home that echoes with resentment, a calendar booked with meetings that never once required your soul to show up, a relationship that works on paper, but quietly starves your emotional aliveness. It looks like being busy enough to avoid asking whether anything you're doing actually matters. We've been taught to equate motion with meaning, productivity with purpose. And so we fill our schedules, upgrade our devices, accept promotions, set quarterly goals, not because they serve us, but because they distract us from the terrifying question underneath it all. If I stopped performing for everyone else, would I still recognize the person underneath? That question doesn't show up on a vision board. It doesn't trend on social media, but it should, because it exposes the real reason people lose decades of their lives, not from a lack of motivation, but from a lack of self-inquiry. And that's the second truth no one tells you about wasting your life. You can do everything right and still end up empty. In fact, the people who suffer the deepest existential fatigue are often the ones who achieved everything they were supposed to, only to discover that success without alignment is just a more socially acceptable form of despair. So, how does it happen? How does a life get wasted, quietly, efficiently, without anyone noticing? It happens when you stop listening to yourself, when you ignore the subtle pull to change direction because you're afraid of looking like you failed, when you override your internal discomfort by telling yourself this is just what adults do, when you trade curiosity for certainty, growth for image, peace for consistency. You lose yourself, not in a single dramatic moment, but in a million quiet ones where you didn't check in. And here's the part no one wants to hear. Every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with you, you're saying no to the life that could. That might sound extreme, but it's not. Because life is made of trade-offs, of investments, of irretrievable decisions that shape who you become. And if you don't choose with intention, someone else will choose for you. Your job, your parents, your peers, your fears, your comfort zone. And little by little, the life you're meant to live gets outsourced to expectations you never agreed to, but still obey. By the time you notice, you're 10 years deep into a life that looks great to everyone but you. So if life is precious, and it is, then the only rational response is to treat your attention as sacred, to stop giving it away to anything that doesn't honor the fact that you will never get this day back. That means leaving the meeting early, turning off the noise, saying no more often, being brutally honest with yourself about why you're still staying in a version of life you outgrew years ago. Because until you recognize that the greatest cost of inauthentic living isn't discomfort, but disconnection, you'll keep settling for a life that's fine on the outside and uninhabited on the inside. Reclaiming your life begins with a choice that sounds simple but demands everything you have. It's the decision to stop running from discomfort and start running toward your truth. To stop obeying the silent scripts handed down by fear, society, or convenience, and instead write your own. This kind of courage doesn't look like fireworks or grand gestures. It looks like the quiet refusal to keep living on autopilot. It looks like saying no to that extra task you don't want, even when everyone expects you to say yes. It looks like turning off your phone during dinner. It looks like setting boundaries with people who drain your energy. It looks like saying, "This doesn't serve me," even when it's easier to say nothing. It's not easy. It never is. But it's the only way to protect your most valuable asset, your attention. Because attention is the gateway to everything that matters. It's the soil where purpose, passion, and presence grow. And without it, no amount of money, status, or distraction can fill the void. I remember a moment when this truth hit me hard. I was burning the candle at both ends, chasing success that felt hollow, constantly distracted, and chronically exhausted. One evening, alone in my apartment, I realized I couldn't remember the last time I had truly been, not just done, but been in my own life. The fear, the anxiety, the relentless pressure, it wasn't external. It was the echo of a life wasted on autopilot. From that night on, I started making small choices, small acts of reclaiming my time. A morning without screens, a walk alone with no agenda, a conversation that mattered instead of small talk. And slowly those small moments added up. They built momentum. They created space for meaning. This is what reclaiming your life really looks like. Not a sudden revolution, but a patient dismantling of what doesn't serve and a quiet building of what does. Because here's the thing. Life isn't about packing every minute with productivity. It's about choosing what to fill your minutes with. It's about prioritizing presence over pressure, depth over distraction. And it's about knowing that every moment you invest in yourself, in your values, in your relationships, is a moment you've spent honoring the rarest gift you'll ever receive. So how do you start? You start with one question.
What would my future self thank me for doing today? Then you answer it, not with big leaps, but with tiny, deliberate steps. Turning off that app, calling that friend, saying no to the meeting, sitting in silence, writing down what truly matters. Because when you treat your time as precious, you begin to live differently. You begin to see that wasting life isn't about missing out on experiences, but about missing out on yourself. And when you reclaim your time, you reclaim your life. Building a life that truly honors the preciousness of time means more than just making better decisions day to day. It means creating a framework, a way of living that consistently protects your attention, energy, and values from the endless noise and pressure around you. This framework isn't about perfection, it's about intentionality. It's about slowing down enough to ask, what am I investing my life into, and why? One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to embrace boundaries, not as limits, but as sacred guardrails that protect your inner world. Boundaries with technology, with people, and even with your own ambitions. Boundaries that allow you to say no to the urgent demands that drain your energy and yes to the important commitments that build your legacy. Imagine a life where you schedule your energy as carefully as your meetings, where you design your environment to nurture focus and calm, where you don't just live through the noise, but create space for what matters. I remember when I first started setting these boundaries. At first, it felt almost rebellious, saying no to emails after 6 p.m., not checking my phone during meals, carving out mornings just for reflection. Friends thought I was being rigid, unproductive, even selfish. But what they didn't see was how those boundaries gave me something priceless, a connection to myself. Because when you guard your time, you create the conditions for depth, for creativity, for real relationships, for a life that doesn't just happen to you, but happens with you. This is the invisible architecture of a life well lived. And here's what's remarkable. The more you build it, the easier it becomes to say no to what doesn't serve you and yes to what makes you come alive. But building that life requires patience and compassion. You will falter. You will be tempted to slip back into old patterns. The world will pull you in 1,000 directions. That's okay. The point isn't to be perfect, it's to be persistent. To remember that honoring life's preciousness is a daily practice, a series of choices made in the quiet moments when no one is watching. As we near the end of this conversation, it's important to pause and reflect on what it all means, not just for today or tomorrow, but for the life you're building over years, decades, a lifetime. Because the true measure of a life well lived isn't the trophies on the shelf or the moments of applause. It's the legacy you leave inside yourself and in the lives you touch. When you stop wasting life, you begin to build something far more durable than success or status. You begin to build a life rooted in authenticity, resilience, and meaning. Because in the end, life's true value isn't in how long it lasts, it's in how deeply it's lived. And that is a legacy worth everything.